Greetings, Idaho, and welcome back to our virtual STEM Matters Week of Celebration. Today, we are joined by a very special guest from St. Alphonsus Health Systems. Please welcome Jeff Greene, the Director of Talent Acquisition Operations. How are you today, Jeff?
Good. It's nice to be here.
Awesome. Well, we are so happy to have you here. So just to start things off, tell us a little bit about your organization and some of the work that you do.
Yeah. So for those that don't know, St. Alphonsus is a health system here locally. St. Alphonsus is owned and operated in partnership by a broader company, Trinity Health, which is a nationwide organization. So St. Alphonsus is a network of hospitals here in the local area, but also has partnerships across the nation. So lots of process improvement and opportunities and growth really across all of our country. The work that I do is really focused around talent acquisition, looking for talent, both talent that maybe we haven't seen before, emerging talent, and growing the spaces that we need to grow to really meet needs in the future.
That's awesome. So tell me a little bit about what your workforce looks like, especially in regards to any STEM skills or anything like that.
Yeah, I think when people think about healthcare, initially they think, okay, nurses and doctors, which of course is a primary focus for us and is a group that we really work in partnership a lot with. However, in conjunction with that, there's also a ton of other roles. As you can imagine, as the world changes, there are always new roles and new things that are needed. So everything down from people that are working specifically on repairing and designing new equipment that is able to help provide better care to new patient populations, people that are really interested on the tech side and working specifically with things, what we would call health informatics. So how we're getting coding and being able to make sure that the right things happen to the right people at the right time. But even beyond that, there is a new emerging field over the last few years around telemedicine. How do we provide care to people that maybe live in an area where they don't have great access to healthcare? Or how do we actually just make care that much quicker and that much easier for people? So there are doctors now, there are other clinicians that actually provide care through the computer, through the phone, and being able to stand up that sort of operations, there's a ton of opportunity and things that really STEM can lend to in a lot of ways. And the future of where healthcare is going, our partnership with STEM is going to only grow.
That's awesome. And we are so excited to partner with you to create that future workforce. So as we're looking at some of the programs and initiatives that we can run in partnership, what are some of the most important STEM skills or related skills that you project a need for Trinity Health in St. Alphonsus?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think one of the big things that happens in healthcare overall is how do we continue to provide better care and more care to people that maybe traditionally haven't really sought healthcare? And so solving that problem really comes in many different facets, but some of that skill set that will help us solve those problems are things around how we are going to better communicate with folks through technology. How are we also going to figure out ways in which we can actually provide true hands-on care without maybe not having hands there. So that's through things like robotics and other pieces that really would allow us to provide different care. In addition, there are all sorts of regulations and different things that we're constantly looking at. And STEM really would give us an opportunity to figure out how we can be more agile in that space. So for instance, if you have to have a certain number of patients to a certain number of nurses, as we continue to look at telemedicine and other opportunities, that may change. And we may need to look at how we do that differently. And so STEM can really provide us a lot of good opportunities on solving those sorts of issues and really being able to look at new ways that we could even reach a new population. A really great example might be something like let's say that we have a larger or growing population of non-English speaking patients. The old method would say, well, let's hire a bunch of people that are bilingual, and then we can provide better support. STEM might say, well, what can we do to create some sort of avenue to where maybe that's not a person, maybe that is a solution that we see through some form of technology or video or whatever it may be. And that's the sort of problem solving that we're looking for when we think about how we partner with STEM.
That's awesome. And it's so interesting to hear just some of the projected changes in the field of healthcare and telemedicine, and how robotics might play a role, and how these creative solutions are so needed in order to provide adequate care to the greatest number of people.
Yeah.
So thank you for that update.
Absolutely.
So as we're looking forward, what are some of the biggest concerns that you have, especially related to things like talent acquisition in healthcare?
Yeah, I think one of the biggest concerns is really simple, and I kind of alluded to it already, which is just the perception when we think about healthcare. A lot of people don't even realize that there are career opportunities within the healthcare industry that are maybe not directly meeting with patients. And to be honest, that's a growing space for us. We know that there are many needs for us to be able to hire more clinicians and more doctors. However, in addition to that, there are a lot of other roles that are critical. They're pivot roles for us that are things that not everyone really realizes are opportunities. So, going into things like coding, there might be someone in STEM that is working on the next coding system for us to know things like, if a patient needs aspirin, what do you code them for, and how does that get communicated not only to them, but to insurance folks and to the doctors and clinicians that are working and helping partner with them. But in addition to that, there's also all of these other opportunities that really are things that don't require people to necessarily be at the bedside with patients. And I think that is one of the most concerning things, is that people are still focused so much on the traditional model. That's what they see. I would say, in addition to that, we have to realize that those clinicians also are going to pivot. There are many ways they're going to continue to change too. So for those of you out there that are interested in the medical field, but maybe are trying to think about things differently, that is something that we have to continue to look at. So for instance, one example would be things like nurse education. What nurses need to feel more comfortable with as technology grows is growing. And some people are more comfortable than others, and some people learn faster than others. And even things like nurse education, there are roles that are specifically designed for clinical education. And as technology grows, that's going to be another really pivotal thing that in today's market is not, it's a niche area. So it's going to be something we're going to need to grow in as we continue to go down the path.
And I just keep hearing you say this word growth. And we know that even the traditional healthcare roles are some of the fastest growing and most in-demand careers here in Idaho. And then having that complete picture of the supporting roles and these peripheral roles around technology support or creative problem solving in healthcare just gives us a much broader picture of all that is being done by Trinity Health and by St. Alphonsus. So thank you for that background. If you could wave a magic wand, what would you like to see happen for these roles?
I would love to see roles that feel like they are progressive and not kind of end results. So, right now, because things are building, there are so many of these sorts of roles that people kind of treat as like a destination. But I would love for us to continue to see how we build these roles up. for people that are just starting to understand, is this something I want to do, and build it all the way from, something that a 17-year-old feels like they can jump in, get exposure, understand more, and get a passion for what they want to do, and get redirection, and then grow their career. I think a lot of times this is kind of seen as the cherry on top, right? We've got other great roles, and then when we move you into this role, it's just a cherry on top that you've got all this experience, but we don't grow these roles yet because they're still so new. And so it's something that we are very much dedicated to, and we're growing right now, but it is new. It's very new for people to think about needing a whole job progression in some of these very specialized areas, but it'll be really critical for us to do so in the future.
Awesome. It sounds like you're looking for lifelong learners.
Yes,
People
absolutely.
who are constantly evolving and thinking of new ways to conduct their work.
Yes, yeah, absolutely.
So looking forward, what is your biggest hope for the future of this industry?
Oh man, that's a really tough question. I think that we're really looking for people that have a passion for patient care, and for people that are excited about care being done at all levels of empathy. And what I mean by that, I know that might sound a little bit weird, but what I mean by that is, we need people that are able to provide surgery and do new surgeries and always new growth in that space. But on top of that, we also need people that are really excited to, be able to take care of their friends and their neighbors and their family members, and to treat everyone with that same respect and dignity and concern. And truthfully, as technology continues to grow and as the healthcare model continues to evolve, we really want to make sure with Trinity that we still never lose the heart behind the care. And so I think finding people that have a passion for people, but believe that the best way to provide care and service to them is, through very innovative ways, I think would be huge. I mean, that's what I would hope, is that just our comfort level and acuity at all levels of the organization continue to embrace kind of this innovation and evolution of things.
Awesome. So looking forward to our partnerships in the future, we know that we have thousands of students here in Idaho who are excited and gung-ho and want to pursue careers that match the roles that you are looking to fill now and in the future. Mm-hmm. So what would be, I guess, what would you expect from partnerships with education? What can we do to best fill these roles now and in the future?
That's such a great question. I think it's two-pronged. I think first and foremost, I would say that a lot of things that have already started kind of down the path, things like the externship program, is huge. When we look at how we continue to provide additional training for our educators, I think that will enhance that education for many students just in and of itself. And so, I really firmly stand behind that program. I think it's been so beneficial. And when we look at ways in which, many educators had a passion for education from the very beginning, right? Long before they even went to school. And there's so much greatness to that. But also there's an element to say, how do I reach all of my students in a way that is going to resonate with them? How do I make sure that they are seeing the real life application and how this is going to impact them down the road, knowing that we're not just, teachers of future teachers, but we're teachers that are teaching people that are going to go into all sorts of different areas. And I think what we can do more and more is to expose at the education level, what are the opportunities? What are the things that are daily challenges that people see? What are the things that we hope for? What's our vision in the future? And whether that's through formalized programming or, some sort of outlet from communication, I think that all of that is good, all of it. I think the second prong to that is for us to figure out ways in which we can get exposure and create passion for students at an earlier age for healthcare.
Mm-hmm.
It's not an area that everyone says I want to do really early on. Many people in healthcare figure out during those like pivotal moments in education that that's something that they're interested in, right? And it usually comes from either some sort of personal, intimate empathy that they have, some experience that they've had, or it generally comes from some igniting of an acceleration of a certain area. Like they just realize they love science, they love life science,
Mm-hmm.
and they want to get into it more and more. But those are usually the two areas, and I think that we can do a better job about people figuring out earlier on, students figuring out earlier on, that might be something I want to explore, and then provide them a platform to actually explore. Again, not treat it as a finish line, but to think about how do we help provide exposure earlier on?
Right. Setting up for those sort of progressive roles that you want to see in the future of your field.
Yeah.
And you mentioned the externship program. And that, just briefly for people who are watching who don't know, the externship program is a partnership with the Idaho STEM Action Center, Workforce Development Council, and dozens of businesses around the state. And I believe last year, St. Alphonsus hosted externs to give a broader experience in the healthcare field. And the externship program places teachers and college and career counselors in STEM industry to get an idea, get a feel for what work looks like, and bring that back to offer better instruction and better advice to students who want to pursue these down the line, or who may have skills and an interest in these related fields. So thank you for your support on that.
Yeah, absolutely. I think honestly, Crispin, just to jump in there, embracing curiosity for anyone who is an employer out there, I would really encourage you to embrace curiosity and step away from exact fit, because some of the externs that we have hosted were teachers of things like math, middle school math, that they came and they worked in groups like HR and quality, and you think, how is that connected? How do these work? But I got to tell you, we stay in contact with that teacher, and she had such an amazing experience. I think she would speak to it, that allowed her just to think about, okay, how can I phrase some of this and become a more enhanced teacher for my student population? Because I'm understanding things like how people deal with budgets differently than what I've seen before, and how people are dealing with how they run their business from an operations standpoint, and work on ratios and all these different things that I think that it's sometimes you have to just trust that the educator is going to glean what they want to from that experience, because they're a math teacher because they're passionate about math, right? And so they see the world through math glasses, and you don't, as the employer, have to connect every dot. They're going to, and I think it's been hugely beneficial. I'm a huge fan of the program.
Awesome. And that application is open now for any educators or college and career counselors who are interested in getting this kind of experience all throughout the state. Awesome. So how can folks learn more about St. Alphonsus Trinity Health and maybe look at some of the positions that you have open right now?
Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, we always have a wide array of positions, and many of them, outside of the healthcare industry, people may say, I'm not really quite sure what that is, or what that means. There's certain language and titling that maybe is not familiar in every other industry. I would just highly encourage you, if you go out to our website, we've got talent partners that are out there, and there's contact information for them. And they can help connect you with anyone that is going to be able to give you the right information. In addition to that, curiosity. Again, there's so much out there. There are opportunities for student populations. There are, we're growing the opportunities around internships and externships. So another thing that we are looking to in the future as well. But there's so much out there, so much literature, and really, you can look in your neighborhood and ask, I wonder if anyone works in healthcare, and there's probably someone. And I think doing kind of that initial discovery with people that are in the industry. We're fortunate here locally that we've got good relationships across the different health ministries and the different health systems here. And so, I think that just learning about healthcare is going to be a huge benefit to all of us.
Absolutely. Is there anything else that you would like the folks watching at home to know about Trinity Health, St. Alphonsus, or the field of healthcare and related fields in general?
Yeah, I think the only thing that I would add is, there is, when we think about healthcare, again, many of us think about hospitals first, right?
Mm-hmm.
Not only do we think about nurses and doctors, but we think about the hospitals. Healthcare really expands so much beyond that. And just for people to get more excited about all the different health programs that are out there that maybe are proactive programs. They're not necessarily people that are sick. There are things that we may be trying to provide better situations for different populations. There's tons of partnerships out there. And I would just tell everyone, if you are interested in people in any capacity, you can find a career in healthcare. There are positions for you, whether that's in HR or marketing or tech or in medicine specifically. There's so many different opportunities out there. And I just would highly encourage people to take a look. The industry is growing. It's such a fun place to be. But at the root of all we do, it's all focused on people.
Awesome. And before we take off, we do have one question from someone watching at home. I'll put that up on the screen real quick. Patricia asks, how do you see sociology students or sociologists being intertwined with STEM and working in healthcare services?
Oh, that's such a good question, Patricia. So, one of the areas that we didn't talk about today that is continuing to grow is around social services. And that is part of health. We look at health not only from, are you coughing? Do you have a fever? But also things, like what other aspects of care can we really provide? And some of that has to do with different social service outlets and things that we can do to just provide more support for people, right? And to live their whole life in a whole way. Mm-hmm. And there is a lot of services that are growing on the behavioral health aspect of things, whether that be with social work or with other predeterminants of health. So things that we may see with like access to food and, being able to prepare and understand, educated, healthy eating and things like that. And so there are things on the psych side that really could be good fits. As it intertwines with STEM, I would say that although in many cases behavioral health is growing and innovating and evolving so much so quickly, I don't have any idea what timeline we would look at on this, but there will continue to be more and more telehealth outside of traditional kind of counseling sort of sessions. There will be more and more that we'll need to look at. And I think that STEM also provides us a lot of opportunities to look at sociology and how we might be able to, again, access that population differently. There's this buzzword, pop health, population health, that's out there, and really, as we understand more and more about how we go to the community to provide care, especially preventative care, this is going to be a growing area.
Awesome. Well, thank you for that well-rounded snapshot of healthcare, telehealth, and the related support services that we see for organizations like Trinity Health and St. Alphonsus. I think this was a lot of really great information, and I hope that folks watching at home do explore this field and find out ways that we can continue to be progressive, lifelong learners in this field and in any field. So, Jeff, absolutely. Thank you so much for your time.
Yeah, thank you so much. It's great to be here.
All right. I'll see you later.
All right. Bye.
That was Jeff Greene, the Director of Talent Acquisition Operations for Trinity Health. And this is just one of many interviews that we are going to have today for part of our STEM Matters virtual celebration week. So thank you folks for tuning in, and tune in later for even more information on a variety of other STEM fields. We are excited to have you here. Thank you.